I remember that day at the bookstore perfectly. Not for the books, not for the sales, but for him. Marco, the writer of the moment, signing copies with that tired smile and those eyes that seemed to have seen too much. I was Isabella, the owner. I tried to maintain professional composure, offer him water, make sure he was comfortable. But inside, something vibrated. A string that hadn't been played in a long time. We spoke little, just enough. About his novels, about the city. But his gazes lingered on me a second longer than necessary. And mine, I admit, also sought his. Months later, fate, or perhaps my own hands subtly pulling the strings, placed us in the same paradise. A luxury resort hanging from the cliffs of Amalfi. Almost unreal. I was looking for air. A break from my orderly, predictable life. He, as I later learned, was escaping a stalled manuscript and, perhaps, something more personal and gray. I saw him on the bar terrace the first night. He was holding a Negroni, gazing at the sea with that melancholy I already recognized. My heart skipped a beat. Coincidence? I approached, feigning surprise. Marco, what an incredible coincidence. His smile, this time, was less tired, more genuine. And his blue eyes sparkled under the dim lights. Isabella. The world is small, or perhaps some handkerchiefs are folded better than others. His comment made me smile. Always with that double meaning. I ordered a limoncello spritz. The air smelled of salt, jasmine, and something else. An electricity that grew between us with every word, with every shared silence. We talked for hours. About forbidden books, dreamed of journeys, guilty pleasures. He confessed he was seeking inspiration, I confessed I was seeking oblivion. Or perhaps, the exact opposite. His hand brushed mine, reaching for the cocktail menu. A fleeting touch, almost accidental. But we both felt it. A small fire at the fingertips. He told me about his wife. Briefly, without details, but with a weight in his voice that said it all. A marriage like a closed room, windowless. I didn't ask. It wasn't my place. But I understood his need to escape, to breathe different air. Perhaps I was that new air. A dangerous breeze. As we said goodbye, by the elevator, the tension was palpable. Breakfast together tomorrow? He asked, his voice a hoarse whisper. Let's see if inspiration strikes. I nodded, unable to speak. Inspiration, right. We knew perfectly well what kind of inspiration we were both seeking on that Italian cliffside. I barely slept that night. Tossing and turning in the silk sheets, imagining scenarios. The sound of the waves crashing below was a sensual, constant soundtrack. The next day, breakfast was electrifying. We shared fresh fruit, strong coffee, and charged glances. We talked about literature, but our bodies were saying something else. His knees brushed against mine under the table. A deliberate contact, sending shivers down my spine. I kept my composure, but I felt the heat rise to my cheeks. He suggested a walk. There's a hidden cove, they say it's beautiful. I nodded. I knew we weren't just going to see the scenery. The path was steep, descending steps carved into the rock. The sun warmed the skin. The scent of pine and sea mingled with his cologne. He offered his hand on a difficult stretch. I took it. His touch was firm, warm. He didn't let go immediately after passing the obstacle. The cove was a little secret of golden sand and crystal clear water, embraced by high rocks. We were alone. Completely alone. We sat on the sand, not too close, but the proximity was electric. The silence broken only by the gentle waves. It's incredible, I whispered, more because of the tension than the scenery. Yes, he replied, but he wasn't looking at the sea. He was looking at me. He moved a little closer. I could feel the heat radiating from his body. Isabella, ever since I saw you at the bookstore. He didn't finish the sentence. I didn't say anything either. The air was thick with the unsaid, the desired. My breathing quickened. He reached out a hand and tucked away a strand of hair the wind had blown across my face. His fingers brushed my cheek. A delicious shiver. Our eyes met. Blue against brown. A silent question hanging between us. Did we dare? He leaned in slowly. I didn't pull away. The world narrowed to that minimal space between our lips. And then, a sound. Footsteps on the path above. We pulled apart abruptly, like startled teenagers. Hearts pounding wildly. It was just a pair of tourists, who didn't even glance towards the cove. But the moment was broken. The tension was still there, but now mixed with frustration. We gathered our things in silence. The climb back was tense. We didn't hold hands anymore. That afternoon, I avoided him. I needed to think. What was I doing? He was a married man. I was playing with fire. But the desire was strong. An undercurrent pulling me towards him. Logic fought against goosebumps. That evening, I found a note slipped under my door. His elegant handwriting. Terrace. Midnight. I need to talk. My heart leapt. Talk? I knew talk was a euphemism. It was an invitation. A door left ajar to the forbidden. I got ready carefully. A simple but elegant black dress that hinted more than it showed. Discreet perfume. Heels that clicked softly on the marble. The terrace was bathed in moonlight. The sea whispered secrets below. He was there, back turned, looking at the distant lights of the coast. He turned upon hearing my footsteps. His gaze traveled slowly over my figure, appreciatively. I felt a blush creep up my neck. You look beautiful, Isabella. His voice was deep, heavy with restrained emotion. He stepped closer, closing the space between us. We can't go on like this, he said. Pretending this is just a coincidence, that we're just friends. I know, I whispered. My voice barely audible above the sound of the sea. But, Marco, your situation. My situation is complicated, he admitted. But being here, with you, is the only real thing I've felt in a long time. He lifted my hand and kissed my knuckles. A chivalrous gesture, yet charged with a burning promise. My skin tingled. Just tonight, Isabella, he whispered against my skin. Let's forget the world, just for a few hours. It was madness. A betrayal of my own principles. And his? But in that moment, under the Amalfi moon, logic dissolved. I nodded slowly. He smiled, a smile that lit up the night. He took my hand and led me, not towards the elevator, but towards the stairs leading down to the more secluded suites. His suite was spacious, elegant, with a private terrace that seemed to float above the black sea dotted with moonlit reflections. He closed the door behind us. The soft click echoed in the charged silence. We stood looking at each other, the threshold crossed. He approached and caressed my bare arm. His touch sent an electric current through my entire body. I closed my eyes for an instant. Isabella, he murmured my name like a prayer. His other hand found my waist, drawing me gently towards him. My body responded on its own, arching against his. I could feel his heartbeat, or perhaps it was mine, pounding against his chest. His lips sought mine. This time there were no interruptions. It was a slow, deep kiss. A recognition, an exploration. I tasted the wine on his mouth, mixed with something uniquely his. My hands went up to his neck, tangling in his short hair. The kiss intensified. From slow and tender it turned urgent, hungry. as if we had been waiting for that moment for years. His hands explored the curve of my back, pausing at the zipper of my dress. A pause. A silent question. I held my breath. Then I nodded slightly against his shoulder. The soft sound of the zipper descending was the only sound in the room. The dress slipped off my shoulders. I felt the cool night air on my bare skin. A shiver ran through my body. Marco looked at me, his eyes dark with desire. "You are even more beautiful than I imagined," he whispered. He led me towards the bed. The sheets were cool and soft. We lay down facing each other, the moon illuminating our intertwined bodies. His caresses were expert, slow, rediscovering every curve, every inch of skin. I responded with the same slowness, exploring his tense body. There were no words, only stifled sighs, the brush of skin, the universal language of desire finally finding its course. It was an encounter of two souls recognizing each other in the darkness, seeking solace and passion far from their ordinary lives. We gave ourselves to each other with an intensity that burned, as if we wanted to condense a lifetime into those few stolen hours. Afterwards, he lay beside me, his breathing deep and calm. I stroked his hair, now damp. The moon still watched from the terrace. We didn't talk about the future. We didn't talk about his wife, or my bookstore. Only this present existed, suspended in time, in Amalfi. Before dawn, I got up stealthily. I dressed in silence, not wanting to break the magic, or perhaps, not wanting to face reality. I gave him one last look. He slept peacefully, a line of worry erased from his forehead. He looked younger, freer. I left the suite soundlessly, closing the door carefully. The hallway was deserted. The resort was still asleep. I returned to my room. I looked out onto the balcony just as the sky began to tinge pale pink over the sea. A new day. And now what? I didn't know if we would see each other again, if he would look for me. Maybe it was just that, a magical night on an Italian cliffside. A secret chapter in our lives. But as I watched the sunrise, I felt a smile form on my lips. It wasn't regret I felt. It was life. Pure, vibrant life.